I want to talk about when you said, because you pointed out about how money inflow into India from Europe or from any other country, as far as the digital story is concerned, it's going to remain intact. There comes the question of alternatives, Indian made alternatives to these apps that have been banned. Indian made alternatives to these apps so far have been, are small. They're not they need to be, they need to scale up. For that they need capital. And you know how capital is, the enabling environment for raising capital in India is. We've all heard horror stories about these. Where do we go from here as far as the
Okay, so
Indian app
let's
ecosystem is concerned?
let's answer this at this level. Okay, I think in the 1970s, IBM was shut out of this market. IBM had a massive market share, something close to 70 to 80%. IBM
Right.
went out. Result of IBM was HCL. HCL was born. Today, HCL is a global company. Okay, it's got, it's a brand to reckon with. It's got market share. HCL was born. Wipro was part of that story. So this opportunity, this window is not going to be closed for too long. Okay, a number of things have to happen. I think the first thing that the government needs to do is to ensure that you create an environment and an ecosystem where entrepreneurship is encouraged. And for entrepreneurship to be encouraged, two things have to happen. The draconian tax laws have to go, whether it's for the physical industry or for the digital industry. The clarity has to be very clear, and there has to, especially on this angel tax, you kind of, the more tax hurdles that you put in, the more difficult it gets. There are entrepreneurs, there are ideas. The second thing that the government must do is to keep a level playing field. So it cannot be seeing favoring one corporation versus another, one set of investors versus vis-a-vis another. So a level playing field. And the third thing is Atmanirbhar Bharat will only happen with innovation. And innovation is nothing but uh, patents and copyright and design. If patents, copyright, and design are not protected, then it's going to be just a lovely phrase, but Atmanirbhar Bharat should kind of be oxygenated with a level playing field, draconian tax laws out, and protection for copyright, patent, and design. Lastly, it's time that Indian entrepreneurs, along with Indian academia, our science institutes, our technology institutes, our management institutes, and the government find a way to talk. There has to be an engagement. A lot of the innovation, especially in the pharma sector, a lot of the innovation, especially in the healthcare sector, and probably in the semiconductor sector in America, has come from labs, from university and academic papers. And I think these are the things that have to fall in place. So the government has a responsibility to ensure that we create the next unicorn or the next alternative to any app that has been banned.
So do you think that this ban will create an Indian ecosystem of apps and which, and why don't we have one so far? All these points that you listed out, clearly they are currently not in favor of an Indian app ecosystem, which is probably why we do not have one as of now. Now the ban is in
So,
place. People are looking for alternatives. How do we ensure that those alternatives are Indian made apps, indigenous
so
apps?
as I said three things have to happen. First is go to make sure that there's the whole the whole startup system is oxygenated. Okay, for oxygen to kind of put oxygen into the startup system, you need a level playing field. You need clear tax laws in terms of angel taxes and all these. There are deterrents. People think twice. And third is you need a strong, robust system to kind of create new innovations and new ideas, which is basically patents, design, copyright, and trademarks.
As of
And
now, yeah, please
so for
continue.
example, so what happened? What happened? Okay, there was Facebook, there was Google, there was Twitter. What did China do? China blocked them. They had advantage of local Chinese language, so they kind of built their own ecosystem. The state SOEs funded them, so that got scale, and today you have unicorns from China, you have BAT. I think India can do the same thing, and you'll have money chasing the India digital story, not only from Silicon Valley and New York Stock Exchange, but also from Europe. And I think it's time to tap the European markets because they lost that race in the digital game.